To shed light on the current situation in the PDP, I'm joined by Mr. Conrad Utaan, a party chieftain and chairmanship aspirant of the PDP. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Constance. Good evening, Nigerians.
So let's start with, what we heard earlier today, that the National Working Committee of your party suspended the National Publicity Secretary and National Legal Advisor on grounds of disloyalty and insubordination. Can you expatiate on these allegations?
It's subjective, but you see, this whole issue borders first on locus and then secondly on mandate. It is proper to set the right narrative. If you say there was a suspension, there was a counter suspension, you must first of all be able to situate it properly. There must be locus and there must be the mandate to carry out such a suspension. Was the National Working Committee right to have suspended the National Publicity Secretary and the National Legal Advisor? Did they have the quorum to do that? And the question is, did the Publicity Secretary and the National Legal Advisor, two members of the National Working Committee, also have the proper mandate to counter-suspend?
Can we stay on the suspension, first of all, of the National Legal Secretary? I want to understand these grounds. I want you to expatiate how it came to be. Let's finish with that, then we can move on to the other ones.
If you talk about the grounds, they are mere allegations. And, the party has proper channels, for disciplinary measures on its members. It's clearly spelled out in the constitution of the party. If an allegation is made against a member of the National Working Committee, there are clear stipulations as to the route to be followed, which I think is what the party has done. Unfortunately, there's so much rancor on the party, and the party is in such a difficult situation where the party is deeply divided around certain lines, where every single position taken by either a member or collectively, the National Working Committee as a body, it is viewed or deemed along those political divides rather than getting to the meat of what the issues are. Okay,
what are those divides you're talking about? And when you say rancor, can you tell us more about that?
Unfortunately, after 16 years of unbroken leadership in this country, the PDP has created extremely successful, wealthy, and big individuals in the country. To some extent, the party space is becoming too little to accommodate their egos. I'm sure you understand the circumstances that led to the defeat of our party in the last general elections. The party has not healed completely from the loss of the 2023 elections. And by and large, some of the things you are beginning to see now begin to rear their heads are as a result of some of those unresolved issues from the last general elections. There are different camps. We cannot deny that within the party. There are different camps that we think that probably at a time like this, the elders in the room should begin to, just like what the Board of Trustees did today, begin to call everybody to the table. Look, it's time to rebuild this party.
So I want to go back to this suspension of Debo. The name is a mouthful.
Olagbedion.
No, not Ologbondia. That's another person. Ologboade or something like. Okay. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about, the National Publicity Secretary. So how long has the party known that they have been involved in anti-party activities before they were suspended?
It is subjective because, first of all, there must be an official complaint or petition against a member of a party. Now, who made those allegations? And then how were those allegations viewed? And at what point, did the National Working Committee decide, to wield in the big stick? You will need to dig deeper, but I'm sure you agree with me that the party has been divided since 2023, even to the level of the National Working Committee.
So were they given an opportunity to defend themselves before they were suspended?
I think that's the process. You cannot be judging your own matter. So probably when a petition is written against a working committee member, you are asked to excuse yourself, which you can choose to use the general term of suspension to allow for a proper investigation, and of course the right to fair hearing, where a panel will be set or disciplinary committee, which is already set in place by the proper channels or organs of the party, will look into those allegations and see whether you actually required to be suspended or more punitive measures are supposed to be carried out against the party officer.
So were all these processes, in your constitution followed before the eventual, wielding of the big stick against these officials?
I think suspension in itself is not a big stick. There will be something bigger than that. If you say an allegation has been leveled against a party official and you want to investigate, the organs of the proper organ of the party that is saddled with that responsibility would want to know why. Probably those officers are in places of influence that may make them, to some extent, define what the investigation would be. It's more or less a step aside kind of instruction to say why the investigation is going on. You could stand aside, suspension, step aside, whatever word you choose to use. But I think it falls within the precepts of what is allowed within our laws.
Okay. In an earlier move, a faction of the NWC suspended the acting national chairman, Umar Damago, and the national secretary, Samuel Anyanwu. How would you respond to this?
I started in my opening remarks by saying that you must first of all be able to situate the locus and the mandate. If you have a national working committee of, say, 25 members, would it be enough to say 2 or 3 members will be declared a faction and to some extent remove, a high-ranking officer like the national chairman and national secretary of the party? I think it's difficult to situate that within, not just moral, but within the laws of the party.
Right. So in this suspension of the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Olugba faction, they had already pointed to facts raised by party members against Mr. Damago. They say that the crisis in Rivers State hasn't been managed very well, and so Mr. Damago has been accused of anti-party activities. Would you agree that under Damago's leadership, the crisis in Rivers State hasn't been handled as your party members would expect it to be? You have to define the roles. That is why I said you must first situate, in meaning what a faction is. What is the role, the constitutional role of the National Publicity Secretary, and what is the constitutional role of the National Legal Advisor? I think the man who is in charge of the day-to-day running of the party is the national chairman, or in this case, the acting national chairman. So you must first of all be able to situate these issues properly and define, what you want to understand to be the faction. Would you say 2 or 3 members are a faction of 40-something members of the National Working Committee that has a NEC, has a board of trustees, and have several other organs of the party? I don't think so. So let's step aside the issue of factions. Look at Rivers State crisis, which has been a major problem in your party. Do you believe your acting chairman has handled it properly? Because a lot of your members are upset with what is going on.
You see, the issue in Rivers State is one that requires proper dissecting. It didn't just start today. It didn't start with Damagun. It didn't start with some of the characters that are on the stage right now. It's deeper than that. But I must also admit that the party has been lacking in leadership. To provide, a proper template to resolve the issues that have not just cropped up in Rivers, but several other local chapters of the party across the country. So it will be rather irresponsible for me to sit here and say it is Damagun. The party has a board of trustees. The party has a national executive committee. The party has a national convention, which is the highest decision-making body of the party. So to accuse just one member who, by virtue of circumstance, has become acting chairman, to be the one who is spearheading crisis or failing in solving the issues in Rivers State. It will be quite unfortunate and quite unfair. The party has several organs. Apart from the National Working Committee of the party, there's a neck of the party, there's a board of trustees, which is the angle of conscience, is a table of conscience of the party. You should ask the questions. Apart from the chairman, the acting chairman of the party, and the head of the National Working Committee, what have the other organs done? The party has failed completely. You cannot situate it around just one individual or across a small group of people in the National Secretariat as National Working Committee members. Our problems in the PDP are way deeper than Umar Damagum.
Okay, so, based on what you're saying, there is a general belief or sentiment that members of your party are actually working for the All Progressives Congress towards 2027. How would you respond to that, which is part of the crisis that you are facing?
Yeah, you see, we have a very long history of political maneuvering in Nigeria. Politics, like you know, is not a cock and jack kind of story. You don't add one and one and get two in politics. There are several ramifications to how you define what interest an individual party member's interest is within the context of the political party that he has found himself, and then across, the politics of Nigeria. It is difficult to accuse one or two individuals of doing anti-party or participating in issues that have brought about the crisis that we have in the party. Look, the PDP as a party needs to look in and dig deeper.
Right. So when will Umar Damagum step down as the acting national chairman?
I would rather tread on the side of the law. Umar Damagum did not ascribe to himself the toga of acting national chairman. Umar Damagum assumed the position of national chairman because that is what the constitution of our party says. Section 47, subsection 6, in fact from 45, if an officer of the party by either by death or resignation or removal by whatever circumstances, the deputy national chairman from the zone where that officer has created the vacancy would naturally take charge. So I think Umar Damagum, our acting national chairman, has assumed the position of acting national chairman by law. The question is, the agitation from the zone where the immediate past national chairman of the party has to be placed on the scale right now. Because if you have a right by law and you sit on that right, it's more or less saying you have ignored or given up that situation. If Umar Damagum has assumed the position of acting national chairman and that position actually belongs to the North Central, what has been the agitation of the North Central, to reclaim what belongs to the North Central?
So that's a question for you, because you come from the North Central and you say you are also running for chairmanship. So why have the North Central, or has North Central not been vociferous about what is going on?
That introduces, my role in the party right now. The circumstances that led to the removal of the former national chairman, especially at the time when he left, threw the party into a lot of confusion. And probably the party has not recovered from the circumstances of that vacancy that was created. That is why some of us have decided not just to throw our hats in the ring, but to raise an agitation to say this position belongs to the North Central zone of Nigeria. Look, the party sat in 2002 and shared in 2022 and shared the positions across the 6 geopolitical zones. The position of national chairman came to the North Central, and then in the North Central we had 2 zones. There's a zone that has Kogi and Niger Niger and Kwara, and there's a zone that has Benue and Plateau and Nasarawa. The national legal advisor went to one zone and the national chairman came to another zone. And the zone that the national chairman came to was the one for Plateau, Nasarawa, and Benue. And they sat and agreed that he should go to Benue.
Right.
And then Benue sat and said he should go to Benue Northwest, considering the fact that Engineer Barnabas Gemade had been chairman in Zone A and Awudobo had been chairman in Zone C. So we discovered that the party in the zone and in the state, and especially in the senatorial zone where Yocha Ayu hails from, had sat on his right for over a year. If not, Damagun is not supposed to be in seat as national chairman for more than a year.
I have to quickly ask you, you're running for chairman. Why exactly are you running, and how will your tenure be different? Are you sure you can lead the PDP to victory in the upcoming elections? Well, in 2027, although it's already by the corner. I
would take you back in history and probably
in less than a minute.
Yeah, you see, what the PDP requires now is reconciliation and peace and unity. It has to do with a lot of peace building. The party now, at a time like this, requires someone who is not encumbered by ego or any tall CVs of a former president or former governor or former ambassador or former minister or whatever. We need an ordinary person who understands the pains of ordinary Nigerians, not just members of the PDP, to step in the shoes and be able to build that unity that we think that the party requires at a time like this.
Mr. Conrad Utaan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.